Well, look at what we're having here. This is a great little spring snow shower. And I wanted to use this example. I purposefully set up the camera to come out here and talk to you guys about the audiobook Levels of Energy by Fred Dodson. In this little clip that we're going to play, Fred talks about water in 3 different forms. Of course, he uses steam, ice, and liquid. But out here we have snow, and you know, the thing about the snow, I personally grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then lived most of my life in Dallas, Texas. So I've been in this basically vertical silo of a pretty warm and muggy climate all of my life. So when I got up here to Colorado, where it's high and dry and cool and crisp and fresh, and you get snow, man, I'll tell you what, this, to me, I'm like a duck in a pond, man. I'm like a kid in a candy store. Here, have a snowball. But this to me is fun. But you know, for most people, this is a pain in the, because you get ice on the sidewalk. It's cold. Most people don't have a lot of great jackets and sweaters and everything to stay warm. You have to shovel it off your car. You have to drive in it. Other people have accidents in it. So there's traffic backups. It's just a pain, right? The snow is a pain. But when you shift the context to a ski town, this is gold. This is liquid gold coming out of the sky, right? This is magic. This is fun. For those of us who don't own the ski resort and just participate, we call it powder. You know, this is fun. I mean, you hear more hooping and hollering on a day like today than you do any other time. Well, in Levels of Energy, this book completely shifted my perspective on everything from the inside out, and it would probably do the same thing for you. If you have not read or listened to Levels of Energy, I would tell you that be ready to have your framework of everything changed, because Fred puts a wireframe, if you will, around every human emotion that we experience, from low to high. I'm talking depression, anxiety, grief, sorrow, fear, all the way up to love, joy, peace, creativity, and puts basically the whole human experience within that context. What it will do for you is allow you to see things differently, see people differently, relationships differently, your job differently, where you live differently. You get the idea. So this clip that we're going to play sets the groundwork for the context of the levels of energy.
As everything is infinity, everything is also energy. The physical universe, with its space and time, its objects, nature, people, and planets, is all energy. The non-physical universe of thought, emotion, spirit, and various planes is also energy. This singular energy manifests spectrally in many different forms, shapes, qualities, radiations, and destinies. An analogy: stream, water, and ice are one thing manifesting in different qualities. The premise of this book is that there are clearly definable, perceivable, and achievable qualities or levels of energy, and that each corresponds with the following: specific states of mind and emotion, specific words, behaviors, and actions, specific surroundings, environments, objects, and places, specific qualities, moods, and intentions, specific methods of moving upward, specific modes of perception and truth. These are also levels of consciousness and emotion. They are levels of vibration. Everything that exists gives off a certain radiation that can be defined on a scale and in comparison to everything else. Depending on your place on the scale and your intentions, something will give you a bad vibe or a good vibe. What something is absolute. What something is to and for you and others is relative. As an example, for one person, a fit of anger is a breakthrough, while for another person, it's a relapse. The fact that it has a different meaning and usefulness for each individual does not mean that anger is not generally a certain distinct level of energy as compared to others. In general, the lower one's emotional state on the scale, the less energy is available, and there will be a more distorted perception and a weaker ability to feel, think, act, and create. The higher one's emotional state on the scale, the more inner resources one has. The energy you radiate is the reality you get back. You experience the world not as it is, but as you are. This scale of energy is designed to benefit you in many ways. With it, you will be able to determine which state you are in and which step of the ladder to take next. It will eventually become easier for you to support your fellow man as well. You will also be able to quickly identify the energy quality of various places, people, objects, foods, movies, music, books, and even societies and countries. Overall, life will start making sense in a deeper way. The scale allows for spectral perception rather than conventional dual perception. Dual perception says X is good, Y is bad. Spectral perception allows for more than two items. It allows for dozens or even hundreds. Good-bad then becomes dependent on context and on where one is on the overall scale. To understand this and also grasp how neither the popular philosophies of absolutism or relativism are fully valid, imagine a thermometer that measures hot and cold. These are not actually opposites, and neither are there only two factors. In fact, cold doesn't even exist. There are only different gradients of hot, very hot or less hot. There is only one thing. The lower on the scale, the colder it is. And whether one point of the thermometer is hot or cold depends on which point of the scale one is looking at or moving from. In this sense, a so-called high level might be very detrimental for someone, an overwhelm, as in pouring a dam over a plant in an attempt to water it. The fridge will be too cold for you, but it's just right to store meat. The oven will often be too hot for you, but it's just right to cook that meat. The absolutist says this is good, this is bad, universally, period. The relativist says nothing is good or bad. It's only your opinion that it is bad. The religious or political absolutist is correct in understanding that there is that which is closer to the truth and that which is further away from the truth. His error comes in only seeing two things without spectral discernment. The error that usually follows is that he judges people who are elsewhere on the scale as lower and himself as morally superior. The academic, philosophical, or political relativist is correct in understanding that good-bad is a matter of perspective. He is incorrect in thinking everything is the same, or that it doesn't matter whether one moves toward truth or away from it. If abused, his stance becomes moral relativism, which then says one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. While this statement is correct, it fails to point out that the terrorist's energy level on the scale is lower than that of a person who kills in self-defense and much lower than a person who never kills. So the scale represents a way of relating to the world, a method of structured and discerning thinking. When the mind understands what is going on and can categorize events, its confusion calms and attention that was previously scattered and preoccupied is freed for more important matters. Not only will learning the scale allow you to view human behavior and all of life in a new light, but enable you to make surprisingly accurate predictions about patterns in life. If you know the energy field of something, you also know what can normally be expected from that energy field. Then, rather than being condemning and indignant about various events, you'll be able to view them with more compassion and even know how to best approach them. Energy tends to attract like energy, just as birds of a feather flock together. Social sciences don't normally use metaphysical terminology, such as attractor energy fields, They'll use other words to describe the same truths, such as the broken window principle, by which a bad neighborhood in town will likely attract more of the same events, actions, and people. A building with broken down windows is likely to attract malcontents hanging around there than a newly renovated building would. While social sciences try to use all kinds of theories to explain why this is so, essentially it is the energy field of that general area that would attract both a broken window and the accompanying malcontent. To stereotype people comes from being aware of these energy field relations, but being judgmental and patronizing about the whole matter. The energy field you radiate will allow you to tune in to certain realities. It's not really that you create reality, just like a television set doesn't create the channels it receives. It's more that you tune into a frequency by 1. Knowing the qualities and attributes of that frequency, and 2. Focusing attention and intention toward that reality. All realities are already created in infinity. You don't create any of them, and thinking you do is merely a megalomaniac delusion of the ego sold to you in the metaphysical section of a bookstore. Instead, you choose from the trillions of options already created what to tune into and what to retrieve attention from. States of mind, emotion, and body are therefore a gauge for where you stand, what could be improved, and how could it be improved.
So once you understand the context of the levels and how they are on this scale, you know which level is higher than the next. And within the context of the book, within the course of listening to the book, you will figure out where you are. You'll pretty much know not only how you came into the world, but where you're living right now. And you'll know the levels that are higher. So if you want to ascend to the higher levels, then you know what the next steps are. So pick up Levels of Energy. You can get it on Audible, and you can pick it up on iTunes. And here's an extra gift for you. It's a snowball. Oh, I missed the camera. Well, that's a good thing, so I don't have to wipe it off when I'm through. And here's a list of the other audiobooks written by Fred Dodson that I've narrated that you can also search and find on Audible and iTunes. Just search Fred Dodson, Thomas Miller, and that'll get you the whole list right there. Thank you for watching, and especially thank you for listening. Have fun in the snow.